we might need to do is reconcile. And the governor is here now, so there is no hiding anymore. He's the top at the county, so we can't say that the officers have refused. Now there is no refusing anymore. The statement has to be served.
Yes. Governor, you see the problem. The problem is, why do these matters have to come to the Senate before you can agree to sit down with the tenant? No, this is what breaks our hearts.
But you see, Senator,
just a minute. It's not the first time.
Sometimes
it's not the first time. We went through this same process with some Gashango.
Just have the guy over at City Hall, direct the officers to do the reconciliation.
They've been doing that.
If there are payments, he also has records and can show that he has paid. You have rent statements. This is surely, Chair, that we require our governor to come to the Senate to tell him to sit down with his tenant. It's very unfair to us in terms of even utilization of our time. Yeah. And secondly, Governor, you know, sometimes I look at you when you're speaking. I really get impressed sometimes at how you just gloss over very serious issues.
Like what?
Like court orders being disobeyed by your officers, and you just say, oh, it's a terrible thing that happened in Woodley. Please, Governor, as a generation, you see, you have said yourself that there are people that you found there who are older than all of us. They started working for Kanjo years before we were born. They have a culture problem. But please, let's not gloss over some of these things. If somebody has gone to court and rightly obtained an order, you have to inculcate in your officers these values of respect for court orders. That is what the country of rule of law demands. Stop the eviction just for 2 days. I mean, and eventually you won the case anyway. So it is not okay for some of us when you gloss over some of those issues.
Maybe it's my language.
Yes,
show
please, just the way that you took responsibility. And thirdly, Governor, you have powers because you are the executive head of the county. When there are serious complaints about some of the officers, like this Lydia Mathia, for years, Governor, you know the complaints you had, even from the way she was running the public participation for the regeneration program.
I told you personally that I have a problem with her. And there were complaints from Woodley to Lumumba Estate to Jericho about one officer.
That's why she's no longer the chief officer.
That's what I'm saying. It took too long. She has got so much pain. Just, you have the executive power. Whenever you see these complaints, because they come from a place of genuine concern, take administrative action on her. And I don't know how you are saying we can read Tony is a good man. But Lydia's friend was not bad either. But she was a bad person, you know? So please take proper action when these concerns are raised, and especially when they come through the leadership that you are elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Sifuna. I am sure.
Chair, this process of reconciliation has been going on. Some people refuse to come for reconciliation. It's been happening. This committee we're talking about, I sat with the area, each MCA who has tenants in the area. This was last year, yeah, in December. And they said, yeah, we know these house numbers. They went to the people. Some completely refused. So if they come back to the Senate, you know, it is not because we're not doing the reconciliation. It is not. The department is always open. If you go to City Hall Annex, first floor, you will find a desk for any reconciliations. But some people don't want to do it. So actually, we should not, in fact, the only reason I see value in coming to the Senate on this issue, more than accountability, is what everybody else can hear, what we are doing. It is for the sake of all the other tenants who may not know. These notices are stuck even in the estates. The notices are given in the houses physically. There is no way one person is not getting a notice. So for this specific case, from here, just let's go to City Hall and sort it. But remember, there's 9,000 other houses where I cannot do the reconciliation myself. You know, Chair, I don't think there's anything difficult to deal with. Let us address the issue of human rights, the responsibility. I think you put it very well. The share of, what do you call the balance? The balance of responsibility between the tenant and the landlord. But ultimately, as a steward of resources for the people of Nairobi, I will not allow a case of impunity. It is like, you know, it's like taking on source revenue actually.
because that revenue that should come to the city is staying with someone. That actually is a big audit question. When you have receivables going into hundreds of millions, hundreds, over many years. One stadium is like 200 million, and it changes the whole society. If everybody here paid, we'll be able to actually deliver services. Chair, on the matter of court orders, I don't know if it's closing, but yeah, I agree with the senator. I believe in the rule of law. And it is unfortunate that, what happened despite, that order. This case, from what I know, and I want you to investigate further, the eviction was done before the court order. When the court order came, eviction stopped. That is the information I have. If it is not true, I will actually do an independent investigation myself to get the exact dates. And I know many of these tenants actually. I can even call them and find out what happened. But also I want to take this opportunity to also thank the tenants who pay. I must thank them. Those who struggle, because the economy is tough. But someone tries, in as much as our rents are heavily subsidized, there is no 2-bedroom or 9,000 in Nairobi, or 3-bedroom or 17,000 on half an acre. But I thank them. And that is why we've not changed those rents. In our finance bill, we have not changed those amounts. Those amounts should be, a 2-bedroom should be maybe 30,000, But I like the idea of Senator Manzo to propose them some of these specific cases to be able to get affordable, especially when there's an affordable housing project near the area. So, for instance, Ngara, whatnot can come to Starehe, where there's affordable housing, or Ziwani, some of those in Makadara. We can put them in. We're doing affordable housing in Bahati, and also in Makongeni, where there was the railway estate. I think that is a brilliant idea. Yeah. So I'm grateful, Chair.
Thank you. I think we have now had the governor. You have something, Mr. Tem?
Yes, I wasn't done. I think I need to emphasize on the need to obey court orders, because he mentioned one case, Republic versus Elijah Tembe. There's a court order stating that the county needs to provide us with rent invoices, because we had been paying rent. We want to continue paying rent, but the county has said they're not going to give us any rent. They have completely refused to give us any rent invoices.
I think on that issue, the governor has pronounced himself, because what's going to happen from here, there is a reconciliation which he has undertaken to the committee that is going to be done, and I will expect that governor will do that reconciliation. Ordinary residents who may not have offices that they can use to push a bit of muscle into occupation of homes. So look into it and reconcile, and don't treat bad manners in a kind way. If they picked those houses, if they occupied them wrongly, after reconciliation, just get them out. You're the governor. Get them out and reinstate the tenants. I think so.
Chair, I still have a proposal. Now that this matter is before the Senate, and has been now it's also been good for you, Governor. You have taken stock of your governance. You have also communicated to your tenants. In this particular, situation, I thought for us to be able to make a report which goes to the floor of the House, I thought some concessions here will go a long way to building a goodwill and information between your tenants and also information to the public. Could we then also fix a date with you when you are going to come back with a clearer report on what has happened? Like in the case of Atembe, he says in each one of them, in the case of Atembe, he said he has fully paid, yet he's under threat of eviction. Others have already been evicted. I told you I'm aware of the children of Mrs. Onimbo, who is deceased. And they are the ones who live there alone.
But if they can't pay, how do we keep them?
That's why you talked about the social bit. And that's why I'm also coming to the, we reconcile, because if you access case by case and then make sure also we have something positive about this, about the vulnerables, because that's what I'm looking at, so that justice can be seen to have been done, and now that these people have come to before us, that we conclude this matter well, such that even the court cases can be withdrawn against the county, which are also very expensive, in a good way, and also to form a precedence for dealings in future, so that your people know, don't evict wrongly. And please also give us a report on the interested part, where your officers are specifically interested. And finally, some of those houses are really in bad condition. They're very old.
Because they're not paying. That's why. How we repay it and you're not paying?
We agree rent must be paid. But can we have some things flashed out, and then we can have another date with you when we can come and know what happened case to case, because there are also some of these people who are saying they're paid. It's like the case of Mr. Atembe, who is here. He has paid. Yes.
Chair, I agree.
So you can give us the closing remarks on
Just
that.
1 minute, Chair. I wanted to just say one last thing before the close.
Okay, Senator Sifuna, 1 minute, and then Governor 2 minutes to.
First, Governor, I have a problem with that attitude that if you have property and you're not receiving rental from it, that you can let it decay. It's one of the ways, by the way, that bad landlords use to force out people, because you just leave the building to fall into dilapidation, and yet it is your asset. I mean,
you've misunderstood me.
Yes, I mean, you still have a responsibility as because that's public property. We need to take care of those properties,
so that even when you evict and another tenant comes in, it is
what is it, a habitable state. Number two, Chair, is my advice to this committee, because you know I'm not a member, I'm just a friend, that in future when responses such as this are put, we need to see the annexures themselves, because you're having a discussion here about which date what happened and when the court orders came from, and these documents are not before us.
The governor should be required, when you say there was a meeting, for instance, of a committee, to even show you the minutes of that
meeting, so that we understand that what he is telling us is actually the truth, so that we don't have this exchange like we're having between a tenant who says that they are fully paid up, and because the county is the custodian of all the records regarding this asset, you should insist on those rent account statements. In fact, in your final decision, Chair, let us insist that in a certain period of time, when he is expected to give back a report to this house, there has to be those statements for these houses to demonstrate to us, because we have had these conversations with our governor sometimes, and even we find that the tenants are actually telling us something that is not factual, you know, and they agree and they say, yes, you know, I will deal. It is only possible for us to go through that process when we have official records and documents. So all these responses here that have referenced meetings, have referenced account statements and so on and so forth, I would insist, Chair, that yes, annexures be presented before us, and the same to the petitioners, you know, because even for them, they have documents. It's showing me a memo here that the committee has not seen, so that if the governor is the one telling us, giving us misleading information, you are able to take a decision. And finally, too, as a way of AOB, Governor, maybe you can just mention, because he was before another committee of, I think, lands, on an issue regarding the land that was occupied by the Single Mothers Association, just for the benefit of the people of Nairobi, whether the survey that you had said would happen happened. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know whether that will be within our mandate, but we could entertain, especially because of the single mothers, and I'm the chair of the WASA. That's on the only basis on which I'll entertain that land for the single mothers. But Governor, as you respond, I also note on your response, and that's why it's good to send the response early, so the committee can analyze and can also seek for further clarifications. The response is not signed. Who owns this response? Who owns this report? Is it you? Can you sign it so that it can be admissible to the committee? It should always be owned by an officer.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to just correct my senator. we have continuous projects in these estates where we rehabilitate them. I can tell you about Huduma Flats, Karioko, we repainted, Kariobangi South, we renovate, we do Cabro. Well, the point I'm making is that it is limited. You know, it would be easier the more revenue comes to be able to do that, but we would not leave our properties just derelict and not care about them. In fact, some of them have completely changed. If you look at photos before 2022 and now, you know, Buruburu, etc. We've done Cabro, we've done, you know, certain fixtures, and you know, sorting out the water issues, etc. And we'll continue to do more. Chair, really, the affirmation I'd like to make is that everybody must bear their responsibility. You know, Chair, is the same way when we're dealing with a clean city, and we put bins and people are littering outside the bins. You know, in some countries you'll never see such a thing. Someone throwing banana peels outside the car or paper. You know, there's haki yetu, but there's also wajibu wetu. You know, and that wajibu wetu is important for the burden of responsibility on both sides. I would like all tenants to know that the space for reconciliation is open, and they need to come to city or go to the estate managers. Every estate has estate managers. But also, what I will not tolerate is anyone harming public officers physically, who come to check on their houses, who come to, you know, give notices. That is impunity. I have to also protect my officers. People have been physically harmed. We've had cases of people in hospital for long periods of time because of being attacked by goons also. And so when they decide to come and they reinforce, because any eviction we do with the police and inspectorate askaris, it is a very bad thing to do. Ideally, we should not be like that. I do not know a single case, and after the reconciliation is done by Senator Manzo, of wrongful eviction. I don't think anyone in their right mind would be able to go and remove someone who has been paying. That is unconscionable. You know, it is completely wrong. In fact, I'm being shown photos of injured officers by my chief officer. Who will speak for them? We must also speak for those officers. They're also Kenyans. They're also citizens. You know, so they say when you come for equity, you come with clean hands.